Good morning all. Today we are going to learn about metals and non-metals, 8th standard, 4th chapter. Then in this part 1, we are going to learn about elements and atom, metals and non-metals. In that, physical properties of metals and non-metals also we are going to learn. First one, elements and atoms. What is element and what is atom? We know that sulfur, carbon, aluminum, oxygen, nitrogen, gold, then so many items, silver, this all are, we can say that elements, mercury, all the things we can say that elements. In these elements containing smallest unit, in this elements containing completely almost the smallest unit is called atom. These elements are made up of smallest unit is called atoms. Then a sample of element containing, if you are taking a sample of elements containing what, only one kind of atom, in one element is containing only one kind of atom. In the case of carbon dioxide, it is containing one kind of atoms. No, carbon and oxygen is there. That's why we cannot say that what carbon dioxide is an element. But in the case of carbon or aluminum or mercury, we can say that is completely containing the same kind of atom, is called elements. Then there are naturally there are more than 94 naturally occurring elements are there. Then according to that, we are classified into metals and non-metals. This naturally occurring elements we are classified into metals and non-metals. In that, metals and non-metals, in 94 naturally occurring elements are there. In that, most of the elements are metals. Most of the elements are metals, but less than 20 are non-metal. Less than 20 are non-metals. Naturally, if you are getting that, in that 20 are non-metals. But few are showing maybe metal characteristics or non-metal characteristics. This type of elements is called metalloid. Metalloid means showing both metal and non-metal characteristics is called metalloid. Then first one, metals and non-metals. Metals can be distinguished from non-metal. Metal is different from non-metal on the basis of physical property and chemical property. Then in that we can see that so many metals are here: bronze, steel, copper, aluminum, gold. These all are what? Metals. But in the case of carbon and sulfur, it is a non-metal. Then first we are going to learn about physical properties of metals and non-metals. Mainly physical properties of metal compared to non-metal, how we can classify. First property of metal is luster and hardness. Luster means the shining property. Only metal is having the shining property. If you are taking gold, if you are taking aluminum, all the things is having what? The shining property. This shining property is called luster. Then the same way, if you are taking gold, aluminum, copper, nickel, these type of items, we can say that very hard. But if you are taking non-metal like coal, sulfur, this type of item is having what? Is maybe soft, or it is only little hard. That time we can break it very fastly, this coal and sulfur all. But in the case of in metal, there are two differences there. In the case of sodium and potassium, sodium and potassium is a metal, but it is soft metal. It is soft metal. We can learn sodium and potassium is a metal, but it is soft metal. We can cut with a knife. But if we are not able to cut with knife, which one? Gold, tin, like that items, very difficulty to cut with knife. But in the case of sodium and potassium, very easy to cut with knife. But in the case of mercury, the only one liquid metal is the mercury we are using in a thermometer. The mercury is only metal which found in liquid. The second physical property of metal is malleability. We can, by beating itself, we can change the shape of, we can change the shape of the metals. That means we can make it as a thin sheet, is called malleability. We can, by beating, we can change it as a thin sheet, is called malleability. Example, gold we can change it as a thin sheet, then silver, tin, this all we can change it as a thin sheet. That is the second property of uh, what metals, but it is very difficulty in the case of non-metal. It is not. The third one, ductility. The third physical property is ductility, metal by which can be drawn into wires. Metal we can change it as a thin wire is called ductility. Example, copper wire, platinum wire, tungsten. Tungsten we are using in the bulb. That all we learned in the 7th standard. This thin wire, the metal changed into thin wire, this property is called ductility. But in the case of non-metal, we can't able to make it as a thin wire. Then fourth one, good conductors of heat and electricity. Metal allows to pass the current and also it passes the heat. Metal is passes, that means you can see here the here through this cell the current is passing through what? Through the wire. Yes, this wire is made up of what? Metal. Inside the wire is the current is passes through the wire. This is showing that the metal is passing the current. And also if you are taking this type of pan, if here nothing is the rubber sheet or nothing is there, means what will happen? Our hand become hot. Yes, if you are touching your mom is cooking, that time what will happen? The side will be very hot, we cannot touch with the hand. If it is made up of metals, means it is difficulty to touch. That's why we can say that the metals is passes heat and electricity. The fifth property is sonorous. Sonorous means metals are producing the ringing sound. That means so many items like musical instruments, all it is made up of what? Metals. Then because of what? It is making the sound. By touching together, it is making the sound. That is the property is sonorous. Then what are the properties we learned? Physical properties. I think you all are remember luster and what? Luster, hardness, then malleability, ductility, then passing heat and electricity, then fifth one sonorous. Then what are the uses of metals and non-metals? Metals are used for making machinery, automobiles, aeroplanes, trains. These items are made up of what? Metals. But in the case of non-metal, we are using what? For breathing. In our daily purpose, we are breathing. It is a non-metal. Oxygen, we are breathing oxygen, it's a non-metal. Then non-metals are used in fertilizers. We learned fertilizers we used what? In non-metals we are using as a fertilizers. Then third uses of non-metal is are used to water purification. In our home, water purifying with non-metals. Then non-metals are used in crackers to make if you want to make crackers, what is using is non-metal is using. Water purification, what is using? Coal and all we are using for water purification. Okay, thank you all. I think you all are learned. Thank you.